rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Welcome everybody to tonight's episode of Friday Night Lights. Alhamdulillah, I'm happy to have Sheikh Walid back from Canada and Sheikh Kamal, as usual, alhamdulillah, our anchor. And today, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to be discussing a really important topic, and that's the issue of fathers, and fathers mattering in a world that continues to be more and more unstable. And just some guidelines from the get-go. Inshallah, we really want to hear from everybody as much as we present tonight. So we're going to have a rotating microphone. Feel free, to come up whenever you have something that you'd like to share as well, inshallah ta'ala. But to begin, I just want to read for you some statistics right now. If you look up this issue of fatherlessness, fatherlessness.
Lessness.
Yeah, without fathers, yeah. Families without fathers. It's described as having reached epidemic proportions, that so many families are growing up now in the United States. Over 14 million children are growing up in fatherless homes. And so what becomes some of the results that have been connected to fatherless homes? 80% of adolescents in psychiatric institutes stem from fatherless homes. 90% of all runaway and homeless children are from fatherless homes. People are twice as likely to commit suicide, especially boys,
I think it's not clear, your voice.
Is my microphone not clear? Can you guys hear me?
When you do like this, I think your beard covered. So.
Can you guys hear me, yes or no?
Yes, but
okay.
when you
But when I lower my head? Okay. So people are twice as likely to commit suicide, or especially boys, after a fatherless childhood. And children are 9 times more likely to be sexually abused, especially girls in a home without the biological father present. So these statistics...
What's the first two?
The first two are 80% of adolescents in psychiatric institutes stem from fatherless homes, and 90% of all runaway and homeless children are from fatherless homes. So there's a lot to be uncovered and unwrapped with regards to statistics like these, but I think we're all aware of the culture in the United States in particular, specifically speaking about the United States with regards to the presence of fathers, the way that fathers are viewed in society, reasons of absence of fathers, whether emotionally absent fathers or physically absent fathers. These are things that are well documented. But what are the things that we can do to positively impact and change the society that we're in, beginning with our own spheres of influence, our own personal circles? That's what we hope, inshallah ta'ala, to engage with everybody in a discussion today. So, Sheikh Kamal, when you're hearing some of these statistics, what are you thinking? What comes to mind?
I'm thinking of a lot of things. Part of it is that, I can even add to that like a few other things. But it's an interesting observation that there's a high crime rate in areas where there are a lot of fatherless children or broken families, So, but I want to talk about my father in the beginning. I want to talk about my father because realistically, people in your life, they shape who you are. Like nobody just molds themselves and nobody builds themselves, is self-made. There's no such thing. We all need people. We're all shaped by those who are around us. And everyone has a quality that they love about their father. The quality that I love very much about my father is that he was always a very dignified and respectable man. And that's very, very important for me. And everyone's different. But my father was a diplomat. He's still alive, alhamdulillah. But he used to be a diplomat. And so he always carries himself in a very proper way. And some people are proper outside of the house. And they're just like a goat inside the house, just jumping around and passing gas and stuff. And a lot of fathers pass gas, right? But my dad was respectable all the time. And I never saw him like dance at a party or shake his hips. And I don't mean to insult anybody who's seen his father shake his hips, okay? But let me tell you something. If I would have seen that from my dad, I would have become a different person. And I'm very thankful to Allah that my dad was always respectable in front of me. And I remember when my first son was born, I did not feel any of that fatherhood, all that romantic. Everybody's different. I did not feel anything romantic. I did not feel anything good. I just panicked. Because I knew that his mother was pregnant with him. I knew there's a baby coming. The minute he screamed, I panicked. I'm like, oh my God, I have to be respectable in front of this boy for the rest of my life. Just like my father was respectable in front of me. So, and I know some other shuyukh, like I know people who've had that same feeling, like this person's gonna be linked to me, looking up at me, am I worthy or not? So that's a quality that I love very much about my dad. He was a very respectable man, and he was a very fun man. Like I don't get my crazy from nowhere. He's very fun, he spoiled us a lot, always joked with us, always in a good mood like that. But he's a very proper guy, you know? And
So he was fun while being proper. He would joke while being proper.
Yeah, absolutely. He never danced. That's the most important thing. He never danced. Okay?
I'm surprised that you mentioned this hips. Like, who dances like that?
Let me tell you something. I had a friend of mine, his dad was respectable too. And one day he said it to me and it hit me, and I realized the blessing that I wasn't thanking Allah for. He said, imagine, we used to call his father Abul Hol, the Sphinx, because his father was like the Sphinx, it's just like this. Did you ever see the Sphinx move? No, his father was Abul Hol like this. So then one day he says, imagine my dad gets up and dances like this in front of everyone. Because we saw one of our other friends, his dad was dancing at a party. So he says, imagine
What kind of dance?
Huh? Yeah, he was shaking his hips.
Like a belly dance.
Like
he
shaping
said-
your hips is a very feminine type of dance. Like I can't anyway.
So
go ahead.
dancing in general is very, very improper and very, so everybody knows that. This is getting worse and worse, right? And the point is that he said, imagine my dad dancing up like that. And I was like, you know what? I've never seen my dad ever get up and dance, and I respect him for that. So if you're a father, don't ever dance in front of your child. That's all the advice I'm giving. All right?
Sheikh Walid, I like this tangent that Sheikh Kamal took us on as far as memories of your father. Can we start with a memory of your father?
Allah
I mean,
there is a lot, but my father, I grew up all my life thinking that I was shaped by other than my father. Like all my life, I thought the one who held me and shaped my character were someone else than my father. Since I was in high school, I spent a lot of time outside the house. I used to travel to study with shuyukh. My family will go, for example, vacation to Egypt, to Turkey, whatever they go vacation. I will say, no, I'm going to Shabna Thameen, I'm staying with him in the summer, study with the sheikh, stuff like that. So I grew up around friends, like going Umrah. Literally, I was in a dorm in college, I come back home only once a month. So I grew up thinking that my father has not a lot to do with who I am. But as I became older, I realized that I am definitely wrong. And there is so much that he impacted me without realizing. Maybe my father never had this, direct way of giving orders or telling you things. There's very few things he was very picky about. But it is being around him and really watching him, being empowered by how he kept the family together. Like I give you an example, and impacted me as I'm older. And I was older at that time. My father told me before he died, he got stroke, so before he lost his senses, the ability to talk, he said, "I'm so glad that I died today and I don't have a zero debt. I don't have a zero debt. I don't owe anyone anything." You know what? At that time I said, what a big deal. Well, it's not an accomplishment. For him, in his level, of his economical level, I asked myself today, if I die today, I can't make that claim. And I can guarantee you a lot of fathers today, if they die, they owe credit card, they own the house, they owe money on the car. There's a lot of debt. I think he can't. My father never lived in debt. He never. And my dad never missed salah since he was 7 years old. Never missed salah. He said, since 7 years old, I never missed a fard prayer. Was not active to go to the masjid, but he never, these things, I don't think he ever told me, hey, but seeing that, the salat means pray. We have to pray. It really impacted me a lot. And I'm saying this because a lot of kids today might not say, oh, I'm not like my father, or like, you know what? You just keep watching him. And fathers, I want you to know that you have an impact on your children. And that can be positive and negative, both ways. There's things I didn't like about my father, you know, and impacted me, and I'm struggling with it. I'm trying to push it away, and I'll be honest, you know, he's not perfect, but there is an influence on you. And it's like when you eat a meal, that meal not responsible for growing your body, but it contribute to your survival, contribute to your nutrition that build your system over the years and over the time. So that's what I want you to think of when you think of the relationship with your children.
Your turn.
My turn? I don't know. My dad, rahimahullah, for me, he was my biggest hero. And it's amazing. It's the greatest gift for me. The greatest gift is when you have parents that are your heroes when you're a child, and they continue to be your heroes when you grow up. It's an amazing gift, rahimahullah ta'ala. One of the things that he was very adamant about was the salah and praying in the masjid. And even though you may not have looked at him and saw like, you know, outwardly super conservative or religious or anything like that, the salah is like clockwork. So one of my memories, I went and I visited him in Montreal. He was working out of Montreal.
Was he a diplomat too?
He worked for the United Nations. He wasn't a diplomat, but he worked for the UN. So we grew up traveling and living all over the world as well. But when he was working out of Montreal, I went to go visit him, and I'm staying with him in his hotel room, and the masjid that's nearby, it was closed at Fajr because they said the area was too dangerous, his nearby masjid. And I was telling him, I was like, there's no such thing as a dangerous neighborhood in Canada. What are they even talking about? But for some reason, it was dangerous. So that was the masjid that he would walk to. So he ended up, he would take a cab every morning. And this is before Uber. This is when you're taking a cab and paying $20 and going to the masjid that's like 20 minutes away. But he would do that for Salat al-Fajr. And then Salat al-Isha and Maghrib, he would walk to the masjid. That masjid, they would open it up. And I found out he was the imam. I was like, you just moved here for like a month. But they just made him lead never gave a khutbah in his life or anything like that, except for khutbah al-Eid. Was the last Eid of his life. He gave khutbah al-Eid somehow. But it was just his attachment to salah for me was something it was just something beautiful. And it was completely imprinted in me. You know, the idea of taking a cab just so that you can catch Salat al-Fajr somewhere is that valuable. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. So,
okay.
Anyway, I agree with Sheikh Walid 100% when he says that the imprint that you leave on your children might not be something that's actually very visible early or even late, but it'll be there. And eventually children grow into some version of their parents. So what are some of the things that fathers uniquely offer? Or actually, Sheikh Walid, even before that, you deal with so much of our community, interacting with families on a very intimate level. What do you see as far as the things that fathers in our community are doing right? What do you see are some of the things that fathers are, needing improvement in?
I think one of the biggest mistake fathers think that they are just the ATM machine for the family. They think, my role is to work and to make money and to pay for the bills, and mother's role is to raise the kids. And it is as bad as this when the mother thinks your role is to make the money and to raise the kids alone. When it comes to raising the kids, there is role for the father to play and the mother to play. I think one of the biggest misconceptions, fathers think I did my job just by providing a shelter. I think you did a great thing by providing a shelter. I never ever, maybe you might say that's biased because you're a male, but I think a lot of time we not appreciate it for the work that husbands do to provide. Sometimes it became as if it is like, khalas, it's like no appreciation. But I think this is a great deal of responsibility that I take on my shoulder as a father. And I work hard to provide and provide for my kids the thing that they need. But that's not it. That's, I think, the biggest thing that to be changed. There is a role you play in raising the kids from the early age. Being there for them, spending time with them, showing love, teaching them, taking them with you, and build that connection. And it's never too late. And I'll promise you something. Hold me accountable for it. And if you don't see me in the dunya, you see me in the day of judgment. Inshallah. Hold me accountable for it. You will never regret a time that you spend with your kid. You will never ever go in memory and you said, I'm so upset. Why did I go with them to vacation? Why did I spend time with them that dinner? You will never regret a good time that you spend with your children. So make sure that you don't mess on that, okay? One of the mistakes also I found, I'm trying to think here. I'm just going to make another point, and maybe you guys can come up with other points too, because you guys all deal with it. One of the mistakes that I found, or thing that need to be improved, or to watch out for it, is don't ever, as a wife, don't ever undermine your husband in front of your children. Directly, indirectly, he's right, he's wrong, it doesn't matter. Don't ever destroy the image of your husband in front of your children. If he's wrong, don't approve the wrong, but don't destroy his image. If he's wrong, don't say he's right. No, he's wrong. But don't destroy his image. Because kids, if you destroy that image in their mind, it's very hard to rebuild. And in the long term, they need the father. And if you destroy his image in this early time, your father is loser, your father knows nothing, hey, this is how you talk, you jump, you're wrong about this, you this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, the children will have no respect for their father. In some cases I dealt with, even she beat her husband in front of her father. She cursed him, she used bad language. She showed no respect for his or his authority. All this, a damage to the children that it cannot be, in my opinion, ever rebuilt. So don't ever contribute to damaging the authority of your husband in front of his children. If he does something wrong, simply be quiet. Unless, a'udhu billah, he abuses children, let's say he hit them or he did something like that. No, in this case, you stop him from abusing. That's absolutely 100%. But there's no need, let's give you an example. Let's say the father, sometimes he gets angry and he uses bad language. That's not correct. You should not curse. What's he curse? What you need to do to basically, you talk to him, hey, you can't curse in front of the kids. You're giving kids bad examples.
Behind closed doors, you have that conversation.
But not in front of your children. Said, hey, and you call yourself Muslim, and you curse. And don't you see the Prophet ﷺ said that? And you know what? And let's say your children lie. You lie all the time anyway. Why are you so harsh on your son? You lie. You just immediately destroy your husband's or the father's image. So if he's wrong, just be quiet and be wise how you handle it. But don't ever, because of a moment of anger, you make a damage that it will take years and years to salvage. Some kids, they treat their father, they are just mirroring their mother. I see with some people, it's very embarrassing sometimes. Like I'll be in people's house or people come visit me or I see them in the office and I see the kids treat his father, the language, the words, the girls that use their father, is not her vocabulary, it's her mother. It's so obvious. Hey, this is not how it is. You should build that. I remember my mother, even though maybe she didn't have, the best, most romantic with relationship, but I don't remember she ever said a bad thing about my father. And whatever happened, she never ever tried to damage the father's image. But she also taught us what's right and what's wrong. But it's a balance, and I hope you understand that there is a balance need to be built here. And I hope we take this serious, because this is a very common mistakes, and it really have a very negative impact on the relationship between children and father. You can tell as much as you want, it is his fault. Who told him? Yes, but you know what? Some father are fool. Some father not good about it now. But later on he will. He will learn. Maybe in his 30s he's not that good. His 20s is not good. But when he's 50, 60, his son and daughter still need him. And when you damage that completely, you don't get anything. You get your 20 seconds fix. كذا enjoy that. I got him. I humiliate him. But long term, everybody loses in the family.
It's, this notion of attacking a father or damaging the image of a father. It may not even, it could for sure obviously be from the wife, but I also want to point out that it could be from other members of the community as well. One brother came and he complained to me, actually, I was just telling Sheikh Walid earlier today, a brother came and he complained to me, and he was like, a friend of mine came to my house, and I invited him over in front of my kids. And the guy, he knew me from like 20 years ago and stuff like that. And he was telling my kids, he was like, your dad back in the day, he used to be a player. He was like, why are you saying this to my kids? Like, my kids don't need to know what I was in my past life or what mistakes I've made as a youth or what have you. He was like, what kind of person comes and damages the image that I've built in front of my children now? And so this idea of protecting the image of fathers in the eyes of their children, I think, is something very important to be remembered. Sheikh Kamal, as far as advice that you have or things that you've seen should be either rectified or similar to what Sheikh Walid was asked as well.
Right. So something that's very high on my list is manliness, being a man. And sometimes, so the man can instill that obviously in his son better than the woman can. That does not mean the woman cannot raise a man and I don't mean in the sense of just chivalry, but chivalry and manliness. A woman can do that, but there's no replacement for the father. And manliness is something that's super, super important, because it's also
That's
something...
why, just to say, that's why even in history, he said he was an orphan raised by his mother. But amazingly, he was this and this and that.
Yeah.
Yes, she can, but it's much easier a father do that. But the mother can, when she do it, it just might be extra effort. Go ahead.
Yeah. So let me put it this way. I always talk about this, my favorite thing about being from Sudan, being Sudani, favorite thing in Sudan is being a man is something super, super important. It's way up here. All right? And this might be, he's laughing because he knows what the deal.
Oh my God.
It might be strange to some other people, but so being a man, when you're a small child and you're told to be a man. Sheikh Ammar told us a story about when he broke his arm, and his uncles, all they cared about was don't cry when he fixes your arm. He's going to pull it with no anesthetics, nothing. Just don't cry, that's all we care about. I remember I was a little kid, I don't know how old I was, probably 4 or something, or maybe around 4 years old or 5, and we had this little rabbit, and I came to give it water, and I found this huge yellow scorpion. It was pregnant, it was gigantic, right next to the thing. So I dropped the water, I woke my dad up, of course he killed it, splat, eggs flew everywhere. And I was I was just excited, and I was doing this. It's like my dad's like, don't shake, you're a man. And I stopped. And I was like 4. And someone might say, today, طبعا, what does that do today? Today that traumatizes the child. Yes, I am making light. And you need to go to therapy because you did not allow the child to vent their frustration and take their feelings out. And And I know most of the audience here likes that kind of stuff. We need to talk about our feelings. Talk about your feelings. I don't care. But don't discount the importance of being a man, because you need to talk about your feelings. It's very, very important. So a lot of times, a man is trying to teach his son about being a man, and then the wife stops him. She throws the age of the child. Like, he's only 6. You're trying to make him a man now? Like, is there an age when, okay, now I should make him a man? Or do I start to instill these important values right now?
What means here? What do you mean by man?
Okay, so yes, part of it is the values of chivalry, which I don't think I need to define, right? Like respecting the woman, and then you don't hit a woman, and a man keeps his word. All these like unwritten values, like a man keeps his word, for example, doesn't flip-flop, doesn't lie. All these good qualities. You can be afraid and be a man, but you don't quake in your boots. Of course, you don't shake your hips. All these kinds of things, right?
It's interesting. What you're talking about is something that's absorbed. You're right. Like, for example, the idea of I remember one time my sister wanted to go to the mechanic. She wanted to go to a mechanic. Her car, something was wrong with it. And I happened to be talking to my uncle in Sudan. And I knew what the answer was going to be. But I said,
let it play out.
I said, should I let my sister take it to the mechanic? And he said, Ammar, khalik rajil, aib. He goes, be a man. No way does your sister take the car to the mechanic. I was like, I knew the answer anyway. And then I told her, I was like, I got to take your car to the mechanic. You can't go. She's like, of course, here, take my keys. Thank you. But these ideas of chivalry,
Okay.
you don't let them.
I'll tell you something that's super unmanly that I see all the time. I'm at the airport, and I see this guy, the man. He's got the tickets in his hand, 4 paper tickets. What does his wife have? This baby, that baby, and a bag. And the minute I see that, he's not a man. That's what I think in my head. This guy's not a man. How dare you make your wife hold the bag and lift the heavy stuff? And I got a thing, and I know everyone wants to do this equality thing, but put that nonsense aside, okay? I got a thing until today. If I see a woman lifting something heavy, I'm like, that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
I don't care if I know her or not. I'm on the plane, this lady, she's got stuff in one hand, trying to put her big carry-on luggage up top with the other hand. Oh. I immediately got up and I put it away. This lady turns around and tells me, usually I'm a very capable woman, but I'm like, I didn't ask you. What, is a problem if, I want to tell her, deep down inside, we're all capable women. What is this nonsense, yani? Khalas, but that's my job. And that's my job, to get up and give you my seat and all that stuff.
I do that all the time. They said, oh, thank you.
I always get thank yous too.
Yeah, I know. I mean, and I've gotten thank yous, all right?
Yeah.
But this one lady, I used her example, as if there's something wrong with your hands are full. This can happen to the world's strongest man. Your hands are full, I can't balance this bag and put it in. Someone help you. What's the issue? Those kinds of things.
So fathers basically insert certain values that nobody can insert it in the children the way he can do.
Because he's such a strong role model. Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, nobody was a better driver than my father. And my father could beat up anybody.
No one was stronger than him, yeah.
Nobody. I was never worried. I always tell my dad, you can beat him up. My dad would just be quiet. I'm like, yes. And today, my children feel the same way. Except that they're right this time.
So, I mean, that's important because, unfortunately, we're living in a time in a society sometimes where we feel that there is a constant fight between men and women over who's better, it's a partnership. I have to agree in the end of the day that, you know what, you can install this the best way, I can contribute this to the best way. Both parents will make that child grow with basically taking both sides, both values, and nurtured by both. Very good.
I have a question for the audience. When was the last movie that you saw that depicted a father in a very, very positive light? What was it? Okay, we got Pursuit of Happiness. What else?
How long ago was that movie?
That was 8 years ago, and you saw what they did to Will Smith.
Okay, so that was 8 years ago? All right.
I think it was 8 years ago. It's not, maybe 10 years ago, right? It might have been 10 years ago. That was the last movie you saw that depicted a father in a positive light. That was 10 years ago.
Boys in the Hood, right?
Boys in the Hood, oh my goodness.
What about that?
Just kidding.
You know, my kids play this movie all the time. What's it called? Heroes, whatever. Heroes. Is it Heroes?
I don't know.
The guy with the red suit. You know, the father, he's a superhero, and he's a little kid. Huh?
The Incredibles?
The Incredibles. Yeah.
That was even longer ago.
But also the mother, she is like, but
Yes,
that's a long
sir.
time ago.
What?
Endgame?
Who was
Okay,
the
that's a good
father?
move.
Who was the good
Iron
father?
Man. Iron Man was, he was the father.
Father?
Yeah, he had like a little baby.
What?
Okay, King Richard this year, and you saw what they did to Will Smith. Will Smith there. You saw what Will Smith did when he won the Oscar. So,
How many movies out there?
yeah, like that's the idea. And then we have TV shows. What TV shows are depicting them in a positive light versus the ones in a negative light? You have Homer Simpson, he's a buffoon. You have Family Guy, he's an idiot. You have, huh? Yeah, so I mean, you have to go back to the 80s for that. But like the way that men or fathers are depicted.
Yeah. Home Improvement. That was Tim Allen was like the biggest idiot ever.
Was he?
And yeah, absolutely. And he's always a bumbling fool. And in the commercials, they always show the father as this foolish guy who's dumb, and then the mother comes and corrects him. And then what happens is a lot of people play that role because that's the role you're supposed to fall into. Where like even you're at the store and then the man does something dumb, and then the wife corrects him, and like she's the brains and stuff. No, don't fall into that nonsense. And it doesn't have to be that you're the brains, but don't accept the role of I'm the buffoon, my wife is the smart one. No, my wife is the smart one, and I'm the smarter one. No, I'm also the smart one. Not the smarter one, but I'm also the smart. I don't have to be the buffoon. But I actually, that was part of my field of study, and I wrote a paper on that.
Okay.
Showing, I'm not going to go into it, but it's just basically how men are depicted as bumbling idiots in commercials and TV shows, and I listed a whole bunch of sitcoms and where the father's always this kind of dumb guy, you know?
So I want to list a couple of things that have been mentioned in studies with regards to what fathers offer. Yes. Yeah.
You can't hear it when you do like this.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I wanted to mention a number of things that have been described as things that fathers uniquely offer in certain studies. So number one is the issue of parental authority. And so there's the famous Harvard study that described, it was a study on the causes of delinquency. It was by Sheldon and Eleanor Gluck of Harvard University, and they described basically, the idea of mothers when they tell their children, wait till your father gets home. And so this notion of the authority that a father is able to present towards children with regards to discipline, and how mothers have to choose between being primarily an enforcer or primarily a loving nurturer when the kid requires birth. They need that enforcer, and they also need the primary nurturer. They need someone who plays the good cop and someone who can play the bad cop as well, right? That balance. And so paternal authority. Also with regards to paternal affection. And so 2/3 of teen pregnancies happen among girls from fatherless homes. Girls who sought that masculine protective love that gets taken advantage of as well. So fatherlessness leading to that lack of paternal affection, that masculine void. And as well as financial security. Without the father's presence, children have a 40% chance of growing up in poverty. So these are some of the roles: financial security, paternal affection, and paternal authority as well. So Sheikh Walid already talked about paternal affection in the sense that the father is not just the financial contributor, he's not just the ATM, but he also has to fill in a particular void, an emotional void. Sheikh Kamal, one of the challenging things with regards to fathers.
Just comment on something here?
Yes.
You said, I think one of the damage happened to father's image and undermined his role. When father also always think of himself as the bad cop.
Okay.
And he always used to be the one who punish, the one who come to make the punishment. So, all the good things comes from mom, or comes from, not coming from dad. That's also not correct. Dad is there to, the final call to make khalas, the punishment. Don't fall into that. And as a father, you always also have to have that positive contribution. Don't be the bad cop. We can play the bad cop, good cop, me and my wife, but I don't need to be the bad cop all the time. Because that's what happened. You became associated with punishment, and even if there is nothing from the mother, some father think that this is my role. My role is the provider for money and the punisher. That's my role in the house. When things can't go wrong, I'm the stick and I'm the money. That's not true. And that should not be your image. But sometimes you find yourself forced into this.
How so?
Sometimes the relationship, you feel like I've been forced because it's not a partnership. You have to be between you and your wife, very syncing together to be able to not ever to let your father reach to that breaking point. And behind the door, behind the scene, there is a communication between you and your wife, between you and your husband, and not to make him always look like that. But it can start from you as a father, is to see yourself not a punisher, but a father, a loving person, a contributor.
Sheikh, and that love, when it's presented, because punishment is a what's it called? It's not a deposit, it's a what's the word? The opposite of a deposit. You deposit money and it's a withdrawal, right? It's a withdrawal when you punish a child. And so if you have not deposited a lot of love and care and positive memories, those withdrawals eventually will lead to bankruptcy, emotional bankruptcy for the child.
Nice.
They only see you as being, and they might be very vindictive. But if a punishment comes, and at the same time they know that it's coming from all of this person who loves you so much, and they know that, then even those punishments become in the future, inshallah ta'ala, they become a source of good memories, right? They become a source of looking back fondly at, the time your dad.
But it's interesting how there's some families where the mother is scarier to the children.
For sure, 100%.
And I'll tell the truth, like in my family, if I'm not home and my wife says, when your father comes home, I'm going to tell him, they're like, that's not scary to them because they know I'm just going to be, you did that. And sometimes I laugh, you did that? Ha ha, you said that? Ha ha. And if I tell them I'm going to tell your mom, they get, oh no, and they panic and stuff like that. But,
She's
okay,
not here to defend herself.
But, okay, so I used to talk about the stereotypical Arab dad, which is like one of the worst examples of a father, when children are at home with their
mother.
You gotta
say no offense after that.
Huh? Yeah, I mean, that's why I said stereotypical Arab dad.
Okay. You can make noise, you can play, you cannot.
The children, when they're home with their mom, they're singing cute songs, and the butterflies are fluttering, and the birds are singing, and everyone's in a good mood until he comes home from work. He just knocks on the door, your dad's here, and suddenly the children stop singing, the butterflies leave, and the birds stop singing, and he comes. His food has to be ready. If it's not ready, there's going to be a disaster in the house. They put the food in front of him, and he does these quick interviews. Doesn't care about the individual. How was school? What did you learn? Homework done? Next. How was school? What did you learn? Then he eats his food, then he takes a nap. And when he takes his nap, do not, under any circumstances, wake up the Arab father when he's taking his nap. I had friends that if someone, one of my friends, I went and knocked on his door after Asr, and he opened the door, he was like, oh my God, why did you knock on the door? My father's asleep. I'm like, so your father, where is he asleep? On the doorstep, yani? What is this issue? Like, no, everybody knows in that house for 20 years, you don't ever visit them because this guy, for some reason, you can't wake him up. And that's all the father is, this mean guy that you don't talk to, you only update him on your grades and that's it. He doesn't care what your hobbies are. So, I don't know, sometimes I feel like some dads grew up with that stereotypical Arab dad at home, and it was such an unpleasant experience that they became the exact reverse. So they became so lenient, and the mother has to be the scary one in the house. But it goes back to what you said, there isn't that balance,
I feel like there's, we only have like a few minutes left, and like 15, 20, we have a lot actually. But I wanted like some really positive examples of dad. I feel like the entire world is already smashing dads enough. So I wanted to hear some positive examples of fathers who are doing it right that you've experienced. But even before that, Sheikh, actually I have to take one diversion. And that is, we talked about parents being on the same page. But one of the most difficult circumstances for fathers is after a divorce.
Yes.
Especially when we already know that the deck is stacked against fathers when it comes to custody. A lot of times, I don't even want to say a lot of times, but there are times when the divorced mother weaponizes her children against the father. The father is not able to access his children. Yeah. I had one brother who told me he hasn't seen his children in 3 years, not because he's a bad father or anything like that. He said, my parents this is their only grandchildren. This is their only set of grandchildren. They have not been able to see them. He said, I have no history of any sort of heart problems. I'm under 40 years old, and I had a heart attack because of the pressure of not being able to see my children.
Actually, Sheikh, I put in my notes that if you could give us an idea. Some of us don't have any idea what custody looks like Islamically. And I know it's going to be a detailed thing, but we don't need a detailed thing. But just how does custody work in Islam, and where does the father fit in?
So custody is, by default, should be with the mother. And after that, if she get married or she moved on, and there is a whole entire different set of who's.
Yeah.
But we always say when it comes to custody, we always look for the best interest for the kid. But regardless, if the mother has the custody, that means the father have every right to be part of their life. Visitation, he spend time with them, and that can be organized, in a weekly basis and a monthly basis, whatever they agreed upon. But, it means he's still part of it.
So that's acceptable that a father would see, Islamically it's okay that if he gets to see them once every 2 weeks, mathalan?
Yeah, or every day. It depends on what they agreed upon. But I think it should be Islamically, as birr al-walidain, I don't think it's right for you should tell your son, your daughter, hey, your father has a right that much higher than the right of the court of the land, which is a right given to him by Allah. That's your father. Every day or every couple of days, you should be talking to him in the phone, messaging him. You never said to your husband, you can't message your son, you cannot talk to your son. You can't do that. That's the rights that Allah given to them, and the right they deserve to be given. So obviously, as long as it doesn't cause a problem, like sometimes it's become annoying. Like some father, okay, I need to organize myself. I'm like have work, I have traveling, I'm married now, whatever. So you have to organize the way which fits everybody's schedule. But generally speaking, there should be a connection, a good relationships. And please, no matter what, don't ever turn your children into that problem between you and your spouse. Obviously, we talk about father today, but it happened also fathers turn children against their mothers. And I have very sad stories about that. But since we talk about father, don't ever use your children to feed them hate, even if he is maybe not the best person to you. But I have seen people who are bad husbands, but not necessarily to be bad fathers. Or bad, mothers, but not bad wives, and vice versa. So, and also there is always a path for repentance, a path for change. And that leads me to a point, I don't know, but.
What do you say about that woman who's like, no seeing of the father, no seeing
That's
of the...
haram.
Sheikh,
the only reason you can say no for the father to see the children, if it's not safe for the children to be around the father. Otherwise, that's absolutely haram, and that's qat'ur rahim. It's one of the major sins in Islam.
Cutting the ties of kinship.
Yeah.
It reminds me of this this guy. People call him for Sharia questions and stuff. So this lady called him. She said, I've divorced my husband and I use the child against him. Is that okay? He very quickly tells her, if you do that, you will go into the hellfire and you'll be sitting on the lap of Abu Jahl. Just very quickly, So.
I have a good examples to give. There is a scholar in India. He's very well known scholar, Shah Waliullah al-Dahlawi. He's considered one of the greatest scholars of India. Died about 300 years ago. When I read the life of this man, one of the things that strike me the most, subhanAllah, his close relationship with his father. His first teacher, his best friend. He traveled with him. He sent him to, to overseas to make Hajj. He married him in the age even is 14. It's kind of interesting. And he not only that, he told his son, you go live in your own, and I'll support you. I mean, anyone from the subcontinent here, did you just hear something very strange other than his son being 14? صحيح دكتور. I'm sure you just started.
You mean other than that he got married at 14?
Yeah. Something even much weirder than that. Yeah. Moving out. Yeah.
He didn't live with him.
The community knows, to let your kids just to move out, even if you are 40, that's where you're lucky, But, for him to tell his son, you go and you open your house and you live by yourself, I was like, an interesting thing. Everybody knows the culture will be surprised by that. But he always talked about how his father raised him to be a man, an independent, a responsible person. His father took him to be his vice chancellor for the school that he runs. And he made him a teacher there. He never said, you know what, this is my son. People will say, oh, he put his son. No, he put him, he supported him. His son is qualified. He gave that support to his son. The other example of a woman named Fatima al-Samarqandiyya. Fatima al-Samarqandiyya, she always talked about her father. It's interesting, not a single word in their biography, both about their mothers. All their biography, all their talk, all their memories, I'm sure their mother great, but the thing that really central their attention was the fathers, their role in their life. There is other ulama, the one always mentioned is the mother, like Sufyan al-Thawri, for example. Anyway, so Fatima al-Samarqandiyya, her father cared for her so much. He taught her. He used to take her to shuyukh and to teachers to study under. And he supported her to study with other scholars. But what's interesting, even when this woman became a scholar and her father used to write fatwas, answers, she would write it and she would write his name, then she write her name underneath his name. It will be signed by the father and the daughter. One time her father was teaching, he said, go ask my daughter, Fatima, if that issue is correct. He even referred to his daughter. How much respect is that? She got married, and after she got married, subhanAllah, the fatwa used to issue the father's name, the daughter's name, which is the wife, then the husband comes. And even her husband is way more knowledgeable. I don't know if more knowledgeable or not because we didn't see her work, but her husband is a great scholar. But out of love, he did that. And he just continued the same thing. So my point is, look at this relationship. Father-in-law, daughter, and his son-in-law, so close with each other. Don't care which name is above, on the top. It's amazing. That shows a great example of how father play a major role in supporting their children and being there. Dr. Ahmed Zuhail, he said, I was always called by my parents, Dr. Ahmed. When I finished Sharia, when I graduated from Sharia, my bachelor, before I started my master PhD, my father never called me Walid. I don't remember my father ever called me Walid. Since I graduated from Sharia, my father called me Sheikh Walid. He never called me Walid, he said Sheikh Walid. That means a lot to me. And something built in me, not arrogance, but you know what? You build in me, I have to have self-respect. And I always felt that this is something, important, that he trusts me, he can look to me. So father can play a major role in really, there's many good examples that we have. And we have to share that, we have to nurture that. Go ahead.
I have a question actually before we begin.
Yeah, while he's calling the adhan, let them do those.
Yeah. Is someone about to call the other?
Right here.
Khayr.
Okay, go ahead, Kari. Actually, wait, before you do that, actually, let me do this. Do we have fathers here
And
who
his
have
son.
their children present as well? A father and son. Or a father and daughter also. Do we have a
and
father and daughter?
daughter.
We have like 4 so far.
We have 4? I need 5.
If you
5 right
have,
there.
if a father here and your daughter or son here, and they are 5 years old or up, raise your hand.
All right, so we're going to do this real quick. I have a little quiz that you and your child are going to do, son or daughter. Here you go. Who am I giving this to? What happened to? Okay. This is for you.
Your right hand side, check Sheikh
Hold on one second. Now?
Here.
We'll do the adhan while you do that.
Yeah, do the adhan while you do that. Here you go.
Allah.
No cheating?
No, you can't give him. You cannot. He heard the questions. No, you cannot give it to him.
Oh, you heard the questions? Okay, hold on. You guys canceled out.
Hold
on, here you go. Come over here.
Allahu Akbar.
There you go.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
Who's your daughter?
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
Mom, you can't help him, okay?
No cheating.
You need to stay away from your dad so you don't cheat.
Yeah, stay away from him.
Okay,
Okay, Sheikh, come on.
I'll tell you guys, it's not going to be embarrassing because we're not going to say names. Okay, so don't worry about being embarrassed or anything like that. It's just an exercise that will benefit everybody. So what are we going to do? When they bring it, we put them together. Okay? And
Oh, no,
names.
they're going to have to do it side by side. We're going to have a lot of fun with that.
You want to?
Oh, of course, 100%. 100%. Everybody's going to come up.
I was going to tell you, how about Omar? You give him Omar or Yusuf.
Oh,
Alhamdulillah.
I don't see them. They didn't raise their hands. They were hiding in the back, mashallah. Sheikh Kamal, you had a point you wanted to mention?
I forgot it. I was going to tell a story. I can't remember what it was anymore.
Must have been good.
That good.
I have a question for you since they are talking. What if the father screwed up? You know what? For years he never showed up in his children's life. He'd been neglecting his children, 10 years, whatever. You know what? He was an abuser. He used to beat them, he used to do this. And now things change. Or I want to change. What do you guys have for such situation? It's hard for the son, for the daughter to forget about all the things that happened in the past. You just don't expect me just to accept him like that just because of my biological father, what can I do in this stuff like? What kind of advice you have? You need a pen?
You need a pen? So my father, rahimahullah, he was raised by his mother's grandparents. His father, pretty much, my dad's mom passed away when he was a child. He was a firstborn, and so young groom, he didn't know what to do with him, so he gave my dad to his grandparents to raise him. And he was completely uninvolved in his life. They're in the same village and everything, but he was completely uninvolved. My dad went to school. His dad didn't care. And my grandmother, or his grandmother, used to insist when she would send him to school, go to your dad and ask him for money, for school money. And he'd be like, he never gives me anything. Why are you making me go to my dad? And she's like, go and ask your dad. Just go. To keep that relationship, even though he wasn't investing at all. And 30 years later, he's traveling the world, and his dad is still a farmer. But he exerted a lot of effort to create a relationship out of nowhere, just because at the end of the day, this is still his father. And even if his father didn't invest anything in his life growing up, he didn't contribute to his success at all or anything like that, this was, and to the point where my father's name in school was actually his grandparents' name. He didn't even know that you have to du'uhum li'abaihim, like they have to be named by their actual father. He went out of his own to change his name in college. He went out of his own to be attributed to his father. So I would say the same thing to anybody who feels like their parents were uninvolved, that there is a barakah and a blessing in your life that comes from you doing right to those who did wrong to you, especially if they are someone as close and who has as much right on you as your parents.
Even if they are not Muslims.
Even if they're not Muslims.
Converts,
even if they're not Muslims.
Check them out.
You know what? Let me ask you this. How many hundreds of movies have you seen this scene where this father who is completely uninvolved comes back and meets his son or meets his daughter when they're fully grown and they're working and everything? And what happens in those scenes? Like almost every single movie ever, what happens in those scenes? They say some nasty, mean things. They curse and cuss at them with really profane language. And you haven't been here, now you want to come in and play dad. What do you want me to do? Hug you because you just showed up? And nastiest things, and they send them away. And on that note, I do want to say this because, sometimes you notice things about cultures. Like I know in America, we don't accept observations about culture very much, okay? And I've said this before and I got some kind of feedback. But there isn't much forgiveness in Western culture. Yani, someone's running for president, they're in their 40s, we ask them about something they did when they were 16. All right? This guy is running for office, or he's being nominated to the Supreme Court. We're asking them what happened when you were 17. But the guy now is 50-something. And you think he has the brains of that 17-year-old, fool. But there is, and I know I've said this and people are like, and right now people are they don't like what I'm saying, that's fine. Like I always say, I'm okay with you being wrong. But you cannot, so your father is your father. Your father is your father. He messed up, he didn't mess up, it's still your father. And yeah, he actually has the right to try to fix his mistakes. Look, who in this world can't try to fix his mistakes? And your job is still to be respectful, and if he wants that chance, you give him that chance. None of this movie stuff. Well, like, oh, it's too late, my mother raised me. Where were you when where were you when I had fever at night? Where was he? Was in Vegas. What do you care where he was? That's not the point. He's back here now.
But what I'm saying is also, it's not possible that we just dismiss people's feelings and pain. I don't think what you're hearing right now is meant to dismiss your pain, your loneliness, your, the problem that happened in your life because of the absence of your father, the abuse of your father. I don't think this.
Don't dismiss the pain.
Yes.
Keep it, but give him a chance.
Give him a chance, and also For me, I always say
it doesn't mean
this.
that you forget your mistakes. If I loaned him $10,000 and he ran away with it 10 years ago, I don't have to loan him another $10,000 every time he shows up.
I don't ask you to be his best friend. He's never going to be like the daddy who lived all his life with his children. He never going to get that level.
Too late.
But there is a minimum of relationship in Islam maintained that has to be given to the father. Also, there is another point, which is my main point. I want to tell you, even the father who's still in your life, but he's not the best father. You know what? Many times we do things for the sake of Allah. I'm doing it because Allah ordered me to be good to my parents.
Yep.
Sometimes your parents are kuffar and fighting you not to be a Muslim. And they do all this. But you know what? I treat you according to what Allah told me to do. That's why when your father, for example, curse, you don't curse back. Like there is this notion, that I treat you equally. If your father lost it, you lose it too? No.
Shaykhna, I know someone, he said we were watching a movie, all my siblings and my mom. And in the movie, these Arab kids overseas watching this movie, and there's this father, and the father does something, he hits the mother, does something, and then the son gets up, and he hits the father. And I was so shocked, because, fathers are up here. So I asked my mom, he can hit his father, this guy? So I know one guy, something happened like that, and his mother told him if the father hits the mother. So he said one day my dad was being aggressive with my mom. I jumped in like a hero. He said, of course, my dad threw me up and he wet his pants. The whole point is, like that lesson he got was so wrong that his mother wanted him to be on her side. She's like, if the father hits the mother, you're allowed to hit the father. So he tried to jump in between his mother and father, and he got busted in half basically by his father.
You should stop your father, but you should not hit your
You
father.
stop his father, but you don't get physical with your father.
Let's
Sheikh, we have to. Yeah,
okay,
we have to.
can we get the microphone? Where's the microphone, Kari? Okay.
All right, let's start with Sheikh Ahmed.
Since there is people apart from each other, I'm going to give the sister. Can the other sister come next to Basant here? Reem, what's his name?
Hannah, Sheikh.
I don't know.
Hannah? What's your daughter's name?
All right, sir.
What's your daughter's name?
We're going to
And
need two
Abir.
microphones.
Can you bring Abir next to you? And use my microphone.
We're going to need these answers.
Read them out.
Okay, I'll explain to you what's the exercise. We ask 5 questions to the father and 5 questions to the son. Okay? These questions about your son and these questions about your father. So you get to know how much they know each other. So let's see the first set. Oh, you're gonna do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've got our first question. So
I was gonna say. Okay, go ahead.
So we have the first question is, what is Umar's favorite color? What did you answer?
I just don't know.
What he said?
Favorite color. He said he doesn't know. He doesn't know.
Blue.
Blue.
Blue. Okay. So what is he afraid of?
Bad dreams. I suppose.
What he's afraid
That's a
of?
pass. Okay. Who's his best friend?
Hussam or Mustafa? Hussam.
Hussam. Okay, very good. What's his favorite food?
Pizza.
Is that correct?
Brownie.
What does he want to be when he grows up? No, go ahead.
UFC fighter. No, I don't know.
Okay, so 2 out of 5, not bad. Hold on. Okay, we still have more. So now he's got questions about you. So what is your dad's father's name?
That wasn't there.
What is his father's name? Not what's your father's name. We know.
Oh, well, it's Hussein.
Hussein? Okay, very good. What's his favorite thing to do?
Watch Turkish shows. Yeah.
Yeah. What city was he born in?
I don't know. Cairo.
Cairo, okay. It's a pretty big city, man. Okay. What was his first job?
Chase, I think.
Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And who are your dad's best friends?
Amo Sharif. Yeah, that's right.
All right, mashallah, mashallah. What do we have next over here? By the way, one of the interesting things, you always watch those Jimmy Kimmel shows where he like asks dad and the dad has no idea about things. But I was watching this interview of a lawyer who defends male clients in divorce, and she said that these types of questions are questions that are skewed against the father. So if you ask fathers other questions, there are questions that fathers are aware of with regards to their children. What's their favorite sport, or what are they afraid of, right? And so there are questions that fathers are more apt to, not necessarily who their kid's doctor is or what grade they're in, even though what their grade they're in is kind of, anyway.
So now a father-daughter.
No, we have, yes, we have. Yeah, I'm here. Where's Maryam? Maryam, you have your mic? All right, you ready?
Maryam or Abir?
It's Maryam, right? Maryam. It's Maryam. Okay, so what's Maryam's favorite color? Blue.
That's right.
Can you use the microphone?
Is it working? It's working.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's.
Okay. What is Maryam afraid of?
Nothing.
I don't know. I mean, that's kind
So
of
that's
a broad
nothing?
question.
Spider.
Okay. Who is her best friend?
Salmon.
Yeah.
Okay. What's her favorite food?
Noodles.
Yeah.
What does she want to be when she grows up?
Eye doctor.
Yeah. That's
Awesome.
Wow, inshallah. 5.
Okay, so how about this, Maryam? Who is your dad's father's name?
Nasr.
Is that correct?
Right.
Oh, you have a microphone? Okay, good.
Yeah.
What is his favorite thing to do, your dad?
I would assume fishing and spending time with the family.
Correct.
Correct?
Oh man, you go fishing? We are hooked up, man. I love going fishing too.
What's your dad's favorite? What city was your dad born in?
In Sendai, in Japan.
Correct.
Nice, mashallah. And what was his first job?
I don't know what he worked as like a teenager, but he was an architect.
Correct.
Are you just saying correct at this point? Okay, correct. Yes.
Correct, it
What
is
was,
correct.
who are his best friends?
I think Muhammad Noor and Walid or
Correct.
Mahmoud. Yeah.
Catchphrase, mashallah. Jazakallah khair. Who else do we have? Where are we? Right here?
Doctor,
Doctor, okay.
where's your
okay.
son?
Here we go. Here, grab this. Okay, sir. Should we start with you, doctor? Yeah, just pick the micro. Okay, so, what's your son's favorite color? Go ahead. What's his favorite color?
Red.
Blue.
Blue. Excellent. So, what is he afraid of?
Germs.
Hold the mic.
Burglars.
Burglars. Okay. So we're close.
Okay.
You said germs. He said burglars.
Yeah, very close.
Who's his best friend? And what's his favorite food?
Kebabs.
I don't know.
You don't know your favorite food? Okay. Then that is yes, it is kebabs. Yes. And what does he want to be when he grows up?
He wants to be a neurosurgeon.
Yeah.
That sounds like what you want him to be when he grows up.
I don't want him to be that. I know it's a bad life. I don't want him to be
Oh,
that.
okay. Is that what you want to be?
Correct.
You said yeah? You have to say that to get a ride home? Okay. You still have to answer your dad's questions. Hold on.
Okay.
So, as far as your dad, what is his father's name?
Riyazuddin Siddiqui.
Riyadh? Okay, very good. Speak into the mic.
Yes.
What is your dad's favorite thing to do?
Spending time with family.
Yes.
Uh,
Every dad has to say the yes to that. So
You have to
yes.
say yes to that. What city was your dad born in?
Aurangabad in India.
Yes.
Okay. What
Uh,
was your dad's first job?
a cook.
He was what?
A cook.
No, it wasn't a cook. It was
It
washing
was like
dishes.
Are you saying
cook
a cook?
kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well,
You're saying a crook.
no, cook. It was in a dorm. It was in cafeteria, but wasn't cooked.
Cafeteria? Okay. And who are your dad's best friends?
Dr. Qureshi.
Kind of. Okay, close enough. MashaAllah. Jazakumullah khair. Who else do we have? Who's left? Where's, Yalla, Bismillah. Switching, huh? Hiding.
I like the fact we have very diverse group, age and,
For the microphone.
daughters, sons, culture.
Basant, you have a
Basant
mic?
has a microphone.
I have a mic, yes.
Okay, Bismillah. So, sir, what is your daughter's favorite color?
Black.
Yes.
Excellent. What is she afraid of?
Mosquito, roaches.
Yes.
Yes? Who is her best friend?
Amber.
Yes, sure.
Sure?
I have a lot of best friends.
Okay, okay. What's her favorite food?
Mulkhia.
Yes.
Okay, and what does she want to be when she grows up?
She's an accountant.
It's not my dream job, but I'm already grown up, so.
Okay, alhamdulillah.
Very good, mashallah. Excellent.
Yeah, 10 out of 10, mashallah.
Okay, how about you? Now,
Yes, so your question is, what is his father's name?
Ahmed Hamdi.
Correct.
And what is his favorite thing to do?
Spend time with us.
I love that.
is
No,
it
it's my
spend
favorite.
time?
It's my favorite. Always asking for it.
What city was he born in?
Alexandria, Egypt.
Yes.
Okay. What was his first job?
Some sort of electrical engineering.
Yes.
And who are his best friends?
His childhood best friend is some dude named Karam in Egypt. And,
Wow, how would she get that? Yeah.
and then I think he's really close to Sheikh Zubair Boushikhi till this day.
Yeah.
That's 10 out of 10 on both ends, mashallah. I feel like there's one more person, but I forgot.
Yeah, Zayd, the last
Where's
one.
Zayd at?
Zayd. Here, over there.
Okay, okay. Come on. I
Young
need you guys
couple.
to separate for the microphone because otherwise the static is going to be too much. Here's, take a microphone first.
Or they can use one microphone.
Just right here is good. Just sit right there. That's fine. We're already here. So, what do you have here? Yes, so what's his favorite color?
Red.
Yes.
Nice. And who are they afraid of? Or what are they afraid of?
The dark.
Yes.
Nice. And who is their best friend?
Yunus or Abdurrahman.
Yes.
Great. And what is their favorite food?
Grilled cheese sandwich.
Yes.
Nice, mashallah. And what does he want to be when he grows up?
Police officer.
Yes.
Police officer? Mashallah. Okay, I'm scared of you already. Next. Now it's your turn for your dad. What is your dad's father's name?
Abrar Khan.
Abrar?
Close. Yeah.
Okay.
His Shaquille. But the full name is Shaquille Abrar Khan. But close.
Okay. Abrar / Shaquille.
I mean, that's an opportunity for you guys to learn about each other. So.
It's a
Absolutely.
nickname.
What is his favorite thing to do?
Work or spend time with family.
Correct.
Correct. What city was he born in?
Houston.
Correct.
Okay, excellent. What was his first job?
An accountant.
Correct.
That was hesitation. What was your first job?
First job out of school was an accountant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, your first job back in the day was
Worked at Sears. in the
worked at
men's department.
Sears. Is Sears still in business?
No.
That's how long ago it was. Okay, very good. And who are your dad's best friends?
Amu Muhammad, Amu Amir, Amu Jihad, and Amu Sayyid.
Whole crew, mashallah.
Correct.
Correct. MashaAllah. Jazakumullah khair.
Very good. Excellent. Jazakallah khair, Zayd. MashaAllah.
Jazakumullah khair.
Allah barak.
Thank you, everybody, for participating in this.
The moral of the exercise in 1 minute before we go pray.
Yes, Bismillah.
Go ahead.
The moral of the exercise, you said? Well, the idea is really just to show the importance of getting to know, some of the details about our families, whether it's our parents or our children. And that can only come through interaction. And not just interaction, but asking questions, listening to one another, being curious about one another. A lot of times, we simply, even as families, we exist around each other, just walking into the kitchen, walking out, walking up to our rooms, walking into the living room, as opposed to spending time to actually sit and engage and learn about the people that we're spending our lives with, the most important people in our lives, whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose for us. So that's just a little bit of an exercise to indicate some of the things that we know. And alhamdulillah, I'm glad that everybody did so well. The questions were kind of easy, but alhamdulillah, everybody did really well. Jazakumullah khair.
Thank you.
Alhamdulillah.
Let's pray.
Jazakumullah khair, guys. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam Muhammad. Thank you very much. See you next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.